coming. I know it was difficult today with all the strikes and everything, but it's amazing you all showed up. It's the first time we ever do this, so be gentle. The idea is for kind of community practice around this, because we've seen that the theory of building startup is relatively easy to understand, but not that easy to apply. So we want to start a discussion going and see what works for some people, what doesn't work, how to solve these problems, etc. Now, because it's the first time, we prepared a short intro. We're not going to give it late. And then we have some really awesome startups here who are going to testify. One of them came all the way from down under, just for this occasion, not really. But that's like the idea is we give a 20-minute intro, they go for 10 minutes each, and then we have an open discussion. We have some questions we would like to hear from you, and then we go eat. Just order some pizza. So first, big thanks to our sponsors, Cities. Yeah, Nick.
Pays my bills.
Yeah, Big Cities pays part of our bills. They are a research center, and they help. They help startups and established companies. They have some nice funding from the government, which means that we can get a lot of support with some government money involved. ECAP, who is offering us this amazing building together with Beta Group Co-working, and Tech Group, the guy in the red T-shirt. Hello, Tech Group. And Andrew. So, thanks. And I give the word to Nick first.
Good. I've got 3 products there. By the way, my name is Nick Boucart on Twitter. 3 products there. They all were relatively successful in some way or another. Who had a Google Wave account here in the room? Yeah. But Google Wave was a very exciting product. Could do a lot of things with it, but it failed to get any adoption at all. It was technologically superior to whatever was out there in the market. Actually, nobody really understood what it was meant to. By the way, I worked 10 years ago in a startup. It was okay in a different area, but it was also very good technology. Actually, never figured out what to do with it. Anyone know Webfan? Webfan was one of those .com darlings 10 years ago. They made a platform where you could order groceries and they would ship it in vans to your home. They invested hugely in infrastructure, in warehouses, in cooling, school cells, in trucks and whatever. Turned out that to be really in that business, the margins are raised. They had a lot of waste also. They cannot keep fresh vegetables forever. So basically after burning a lot of money and investing a lot of money, they found out that there was simply no margin left. GeoCities, who knows that one? Yeah, probably everybody, the homepage of the predecessor of blogging basically. They were quite successful. They had a huge amount of people making homepages in there. Unfortunately, they never found a real way to monetize on that. So, build it and they will come. Well, I don't think so. It's not because you have something, some product, or that you can build a decent business on top of that. And that's one of the first points that I want to give. Now, most of you are in the startup business, so you probably all know this, whether by experience or learning it the hard way. A startup is more than your product alone. A startup is really, your product is one part of the puzzle, but it's only one part. There are many other pieces of the puzzle. And which pieces are there then? Well, that's what a guy called Osterwalder, now I think roughly 2 years ago, showed us very visually. He introduced this business model canvas, which you can say can give a lot of critique on it, but at least it gives you a very clear.
Everybody knows the business model canvas, yeah?
I hope everybody knows.
Or we go through it quickly, or yeah? Very quickly.
The point is, this is if everybody talks about, you have to have a workable business model, you have to be scalable, but what the F is a business model? It's something this is one of those very fluffy terms. Well, this thing explains it to you. A basic business model consists of 9 blocks that somehow work very well together. First important block, your customer segment. Who are you targeting? And be precise there. Say, yeah, everybody on the internet, that is not a customer segment. Much narrower. Thing is, what do you have to offer to that segment? What is your unique stuff you offer? How are you going to reach your customers? You might have a very clever, unique product that solves a lot of things for a very specific kind of people, but if you cannot reach those people, forget about it. You will not have a successful business. Your customer relationship, how do you want to deal with those people? Do you want to be very personal with them? Like for example, with McDonald's there, you have a whole person for fulfilling your order. It's not a dedicated person, but it's at least a personal approach there. Or completely automated in a self-service way. Google, for example, their relationship with us is a completely automated relationship. Try to get someone of Google on the phone, it will never work. Of course, you might be able to deliver value, but are you going to get some revenue out of it, some money out of that? So here, this building block describes how you will earn money with doing this. The left-hand side of this canvas explains is actually the cost part. It describes all the stuff you need to do to make this happen. What are your key activities you will do? If, for example, you build some online platform to do whatever stuff it is, well, a key activity there will be developing and maintaining that platform. It's quite obvious. Key resources. What is the stuff you need to build up in order to be able to do this? Key resource can be, for example, a brand. Apple can do what Apple can do partly because of their brand and their established name. Who are you going to work with in order to achieve all this? Typically, you will not be able to do everything alone. Maybe you need some help here. Maybe because of some man in the middle, you will be able to reach your customers much easier. These are your key partners. Typically, they will not do that for free. They will ask something in return. Can be financial, can be something else, but something. And of course, everything here comes with a cost. In the end, a nice business model is one where this part is slightly or even more, a lot bigger than this part. Okay? So, as a startup, what do you do? First thing to do, you try to fill out this thing, which is nice, and then you're done, right? Well, I don't think so. That's just the first part. Who knows Flickr? Was a Flickr account? I know it, but I actually don't have an account. They started out not as a photo sharing company. They started out, they wanted to build a game, a massive multiplayer online game, which had somewhere hidden in the whole thing a photo sharing feature. Turned out that photo sharing feature was actually the thing that attracted a lot of people to that game, to Flickr, basically. And it was only after a while that they started to realize that maybe we're not in the MMO, in the massive multiplayer, massive online multiplayer game business. We're actually in the photo sharing business. Similar story here with PayPal. Originally, they set out to be a service to do PDA payments. Imagine those bulky things 10 years ago with the stylus. They had a vision so that we could pay each other by just sticking our PDAs together or something along those lines. Turned out nobody was really wanting that, but online merchants, they said, yeah, if you could make something so that online payments become easier, well, that would really help. So they changed their mind and they became PayPal. Now, what happened here was all those companies, startups, typically they work under extreme uncertainty. Extreme uncertainty in all those 9 building blocks that I showed you. They really don't initially know who are my customers. They have, what is my product actually? What are now the top 3 features that I have to offer that they're really willing to pay, and what is, let's say, nice to have. And that's something a startup, contrary to let's say, an established company, is in search for. So basically, when you start out documenting your vision, And that's a very good start using the canvas like this. Basically, everything you fill in there are guesses. Vladimir will explain, and that's where the whole startup thing kicks in, how you can go from here to a real flourishing business.
Oui. So, yeah, that's the problem. What can we do about it? Steve Blank says, Steve Blank, the father of customer development, his definition of a startup. A startup is a temporary organization with a purpose to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. Now, a company is an organization that is established to run and execute a business model. Startup is not like a big company but then small. No. Startup is a different kind of organization. It's an organization that should focus on searching, on learning, and basically you could compare a startup to some sort of a research project. And if you compare startup to a research project, then perhaps you can learn something from the researchers, from the scientists. What do the scientists do? Scientists state their hypothesis. So basically what we said at the beginning, this is our business, this is how we're going to make money, these are actually hypotheses. Not everybody can state a good hypothesis. You still have to be a good scientist, or in our case, a visionary entrepreneur to come up with something creative. But the point is, you treat it as a hypothesis, and what do the scientists do then? They define a number of experiments to validate or invalidate the hypothesis, and based on the results, they say, okay, I'm on a good track, I'm going to build further on that, persevere, or pivot, change an aspect of the business model. So, what I'm going to talk about is these three balls. The first one, state hypothesis. We've seen the business model canvas is a good tool to do that. So you sketch your business. In our example, the Parker business, help people finding parking in overcrowded cities, and help others monetize their parking. It's an imaginary example.
By the way, IBBT launched a similar company like that like last week or so.
Yeah, there's one downstairs as well.
Okay. So big disclaimer. We invented this one, and probably not like on purpose, not a profitable business. So the idea is like you go, you have a little money in the ticket, and you sell. Okay. Anyhow, so they wanna make a mobile app, they wanna go viral, and if they can get a deal with the GPS producers, then they're in. So the idea is you start by sketching the business model canvas, as Nick said, and then you identify major risks. Typically, at the beginning, your major risks are: do you know your customers? Are you solving the right problem for them? Are you offering something unique? Do they agree? Hey, money, channels. This is really the big four. And a good place to start, especially at the very beginning, is problem-solution fit. Are you solving the right problem? So we here provide a quick cheat sheet. I'm not going to go through all the details, but what you can start at the beginning is focusing on the hypothesis of: do I know who my customers are? Really? Do I know enough about them? Am I solving the right problems? Do they agree? Are those the top problems? Are they aware of them? And is my solution, this is cut off here, accepted as a solution? Are there some barriers to entry, etc.? So that's a little bit about stating the hypothesis. Then what you do is you go out and you want to validate it. How do you do that? We give here just a couple of examples. We don't really know, but we give here a couple of examples. So, first one is what we call a problem solution. Well, what people call problem solution interview. What is it? It's basically a short interview where you go and you talk to your customers about what I just said, about the problem. You say basically, when we worked or when I drive to the cities, I always have this problem and I cannot find the parking, and we've seen that people are blah blah blah. And does this problem resonate with you? And then you sit back and listen. Why is it difficult for you? What do you find difficult there? And then you ask them, how do you deal with it today? If they're not dealing with it today, that means they're probably not really, it's not really painful enough. And you learn a little bit about your competition. And often your competition ain't what you think it is. And you can also ask them at the end, what I try to ask them also is like on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the must-have and 1 being don't bloody need that, how would you rate it? If you see some resonance of the problem, you can also show them a solution. And you have to show your solution to customers. Customers are owning that part, you're owning this part. And they're very aware of their problems, and you can talk about it as their world, but you are the imaginary guy or a gal, and you come up with a solution. So you best show it in some visual way, so that it's really, really, really clear and simple for them. And again, you ask them, yeah, does it resonate with them? Would they use this? What are the features they could live without? What are the must-haves, and etc. If you get the resonance then, here, you can even use this interview to check the basic pricing. Of course, you don't ask them how much you'll pay for this, you put some price, and you check. What they say typically is, if they agree, but with some resistance or a little bit resistance, that's a good sign. If they just say yes, it actually happened to me the other day, which is good. But then it means you can price more. So the other example is an online experiment. What we have here is a launch page or landing page. A guy that I know did it very successfully. I learned from him. Is basically, the idea is you put up something that displays your product. Actually, what's very interesting is you link that to a Google Advert campaign. And why do you do that? You don't do that to drive people to build up traffic. What you really want to do there is you want to test different messages or different value propositions or different problems, depending what you think is what you're not sure about, let's say. So basically, you might even at the very, very beginning test 2 or 3 different types of products. And what you do then to Google, you tell them like rotate these ads and you measure where you have the biggest click-through rate. It's quite simple. You can also, okay, yeah, if you have a landing page, you know all this, I guess, you have to have some call to action to have some, okay, you cannot sell yet, but at least register an email or something like that. A third example is a very nice one, is basically what you can do sometimes for some type of products, you can fake your product. Like Zappos shoes, what they did at the very beginning is they went to the local shops, it's an online shoe retailer. They went to the local shops, they took photos, they asked the customers to take the shop owners to take photos of the shoes, put them online. The website, it seemed like it's all automated. It was actually the CEO who was doing everything. And he would handle the shoes, pack them, buy them in the shop, pack them, sell them, handle returns, everything. And he learned a lot by doing that. He learned whether customers want to buy shoes online, what kind of shoes they want to buy, how many returns he got, etc. Very, very important things to be able to figure out whether he can make profitable business out of it. Another thing is, even without a website, these guys from Food on Table, there's a service where you can select, based on your preferences, you get seven recipes and you get ingredients every week to cook them. What this guy did, what sometimes calls concierge minimal viable product, a minimal viable product, I guess everybody knows. If not, there are 2 definitions out there, like a minimal set of features which can make you money. But in this case, it's more like you have a hypothesis you want to verify. So the minimal viable product is, what is the minimal thing I need to do or build in order to be able to validate or invalidate the hypothesis? So in this case, what these guys did is they went to one local shop. They didn't start with a lot of shops. They didn't start with building a lot of recipes. No, they went to one local shop and they started asking people, would you be interested in that? Until they found one person. And then the VP marketing and the CEO visited that person every week, put up their preferences, recipes, let them select, went to the shop, bought it, brought it to them, and collected the check of $10, which was the price of the service. Very important. And of course, they kept doing that until they couldn't scale anymore, and then they started building. And what's very interesting is also they knew what to automate. The problem is also you can sometimes start automating things that are completely irrelevant. That brings me to the last one. So based on those experiments, you don't get a gold star for doing that. What you want is basically you want to go back and you want to learn. So you want to study the data you've collected and decide what's next. you can come to a point where you see that some of the aspects of what you envision as a business is not really working, and then you may need to pivot. What is a pivot? A pivot is change of an aspect of a business model. It's not completely different product. It's not completely like abandoning the thing. No. It's just changing one of the aspects that you've seen that doesn't work, based on learning, not because whatever. And grounded in a vision. So what you do is you still keep somehow, you use your vision as some sort of a search space. And in that search space, you try to find what works. Here's another cheat sheet. We'll put slides online so you can find them back. It's like a list of all the kind of pivots you can have. Customer problems, segment, etc. I mean, you leave some things as they are and change some other things. Like you can try to solve another problem, another type of a customer with the same solution, or same problem, other solution, etc. It's my last slide. If I talk about Lean Start, I have to show you this loop. It's not just my loop, it's a different kind of loop, but I have to do it. It's from Eric Ries. But it's interesting because what I like about this one is that what I showed you so far, it's all stuff that you have to do at the very beginning, really. But it carries on into product development as well. And that's what I want to show with this slide as well. It's like, you can also take any change or any feature or any improvement on your site, on your product, and treat it as a hypothesis as well. So what you want to do there is you want to say, okay, I know my sign-on page sucks, it's so web 1.0, so let me improve it. So what you want to do you want to build it, but you also want to measure. So why do you do it? Yeah, because I want to increase my sign-ups, so let's measure that. Will it really increase my sign-up? There's nice examples, I don't have time for that, but this actually doesn't happen, so you want to keep measuring. So you build, you measure, and you learn. Another thing that I wanted to say with this slide is also that as you go on in product development, there are some types of practices, you will have to become a learning organization, which means you will have to install a number of practices to be able to do this, and to do this fast. For example, if you want to build and then learn, you will have to do stuff like continuous deployment. You will have to be able to roll back your solution, etc. So you will have to have quite advanced software. Hey, I'm talking about software startups. Sorry for the other guys and also, I'm just really from that world, and I'm clueless about the rest. But there, it's like you have to be able to like roll back some stuff. You have to have metrics. You have to be able to respond quickly. So you have to have that also in your organization. Somebody has to be looking at those things. You have to respond to stuff. You also have to make sure that, for example, this is like actually what you want. You want to build some sort of a machine, a learning machine, and that machine, in order to be running, you have to remove all the stuff that's really blocking it or that it's making it slow. So, for example, if you see you have a problem, it's not just about invalidating your hypothesis. It's also about having bugs, problems, crashes, whatever. You want to root cause it because you want to go back and fix what's wrong because you want this machine to keep running. Thanks. This is me, this is Nick, and that's all from us for the moment.